Well, hi, Little Bear. By the way, Little Bear, I would like to let you know that if you go to YouTube right now, I am doing story time. We added a Dr. Seuss book as the first book. And if you go there, you can actually see the book while I'm reading. Hiccup, you can do it or not. I'm not telling you to do shit. It is up to you. Can I ask why? I mean, granted, it does make the drive somewhat easier, but hi, Wolf and Raven. Hi, Sapphire Wolf. So we're going to give it just a few more seconds, probably about another minute or two, and then I will start reading. And remember, everyone, if you want to see the book while I'm reading, go to YouTube. Easy way to do that. Go to my profile, click the YouTube button, or click the Instagram button, and then click on YouTube. I can mute one, not the other. I get that, Hiccup. But you know, story time is made for sleeping. I'm just saying.
Well, you're not supposed to be answering comments, aren't you? Baby.
Not particularly, but we decided that I was going to start answering comments at the beginning to direct people over to YouTube if they wanted to see the book. Dear. Okay, so we are going to start off with Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat. The sun did not shine. It was too wet to play, so we sat in the house, all that cold, cold, wet day. I sat there with Sally. We sat there, we two, and I said, how I wish we had something to do. Too wet to go out, too cold to play ball, so we sat in the house. We did nothing at all. So all we could do was to sit, and we did not like it, not one little bit. And then something went bump. How that bump made us jump. We looked, then we saw him step in on the mat. We looked and we saw him, the cat in the hat. And he said to us, why do you sit there like that? I know it is wet, and the sun is not sunny, but we can have lots of good fun that is funny. I know some good games we could play, said the cat. I know some new tricks, said the cat in the hat. A lot of good tricks. I will show them to you. Your mother will not mind at all if I do. Then Sally and I did not know what to say. Our mother was out of the house for the day. But our fish said, no, no, make that cat go away. Tell that cat in the hat you do not want to play. He should not be here. He should not be about. He should not be here when your mother is out. Now, have no fear, said the cat. My tricks are not bad, said the cat in the hat. Why, we can have lots of good fun, if you wish, with a game that I call Up with a Fish. Put me down, said the fish, this is no fun at all. Put me down, said the fish, I do not wish to fall. Have no fear, said the cat, I will not let you fall. I will hold you up high as I stand on a ball, with a book on one hand and a cup on my hat. But that is not all I can do, said the cat. Look at me now, said the cat. With a cup and a cake on the top of my hat, I can hold up two books, I can hold up the fish, and a little toy ship, and some milk on a dish, and look, I can hop up and down on the ball. But that is not all, oh no, that is not all. Look at me now, it is fun to have fun, but you have to know how. I can hold up the cup, and the milk, and the cake, I can hold up these books, and the fish on a rake, and I can hold the toy ship, and a little toy man, and look with my tail, I can hold a red fan. I can fan with the fan as I hop on the ball, but that is not all. Oh no, that is not all. Hey, Lumi. That is what the cat said. Then he fell on his head. He came down with a bump from up there on the ball, and Sally and I, we saw all the things fall. And our fish came down too. He fell into a pot. He said, "Do I like this? Oh no, I do not. This is not a good game," said our fish as he lit. "No, I do not like it, not one little bit." "Now look what you did," said the fish to the cat. "Now look at this house. Look at this. Look at that. You sank our toy ship, sank it deep in the cake. You shook up our house, and you bent our new rake. You should not be here when our mother is not. You get out of this house," said the fish in the pot. "But I like to be here. Oh, I like it a lot," said the cat in the hat to the fish in the pot. "I will not go away. I do not wish to go." "And so," said the cat in the hat, so, I will show you another good game that I know." And then he ran out, and then fast as a fox, the cat in the hat came back in with a box.
Oh, you didn't get to read it, did you?
A big red wood box. It was shut with a hook. "Now look at this trick," said the cat. "Take a look." Then he got up on top with the tip of his hat. "I call this game Fun in a Box," said the cat. "In this box are two things I will show to you now. You will like these two things," said the cat with a bow. "I will pick up the hook. You will see something new. Two things, and I call them Thing 1 and Thing 2. These things will not bite you. They want to have fun." Then out of the box came Thing 2 and Thing 1. And they ran to us fast. They said, "How do you do? Would you like to shake hands with Thing 1 and Thing 2? And Sally and I did not know what to do, so we had to shake hands with Thing 1 and Thing 2. We shook their two hands, but our fish said, "No, no, those things should not be in this house. Make them go. They should not be here when your mother is not. Put them out," said the fish in the pot. "Have no fear, little fish," said the cat in the hat. "These things are good things," and he gave them a pat. "They are tame, oh so tame. They have come here to play. They will give you some fun on this wet, wet, wet day." "Now here is a game that they like," said the cat. "They like to fly kites," said the cat in the hat. "No, not in the house," said the fish in the pot. "They should not fly kites in a house. They should not. Oh, the things they will bump. Oh, the things will thump, thump, bump down the wall in the hall." Thing 2 and Thing 1, they ran up, they ran down. On the string of one kite we saw Mother's new gown. Her gown with the dots that are pinks and big thumps and all kinds of bad tricks. And I said, "I do not like the way that they play. If Mother could see this, oh, what would they say?" Then our fish said, "Look, look," and our fish shook with fear. "Your mother is on her way home. Do you hear? Oh, what will she do to us? What will she say? Oh, she will not like it to find us this way." "So do something fast," said the fish. "Do you hear? I saw her, your mother is near. So as fast as you can, think of something to do. You will have to get rid of Thing 1 and Thing 2. "Wow," fish said, "I went after my net, and you take them away." "Oh dear," said the cat, "you did not like our game. Oh dear, what a shame, what a shame, what a shame." Then he shut up the things in the box with the hook, and the cat went away with a sad kind of look. "That is good," said the fish, "he has gone away." "Yes, but your mother will come. She will find this big mess, and this mess is so big and so deep and so tall, we cannot pick it up. There is no way at all." And then, who was back in the house? Why, the cat. "Have no fear of this mess," said the cat in the hat. "I always pick up all my playthings, and so I will show you another good trick that I know." Then we saw him pick up all the things that were down. He picked up the cake and the rake and the gown, and the milk and the strings and the books and the dish, and the fan and the cup and the ship and the fish. And he put them away. Then he said, "That is that," and then he was gone with the tip of his hat. Then our mother came in, and she said to us too, "Did you have any fun? Tell me, what did you do?" And Sally and I did not know what to say. Should we tell her the things that went on there that day? Should we tell her about it? Now what should we do? Well, what would you do if your mother asked you? Huh? What would you guys do? What would you do, dear?
Leave it myself because she ain't gonna believe me anyways.
I mean, fair. And that is the end of The Cat and the Hat. Now we are going to pick up with Chapter 15 of Percy Jackson, I Wrestle Santa's Evil Twin. Did she say why?
Who? Why they're doing that?
Mm-hmm.
You just said that.
Have you texted him?
Yep, I'm waiting on a answer.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so we are going to start Chapter 15. Chapter 15. I Wrestle Santa's Evil Twin. Tell me when it's over, Thalia said. Her eyes were shut tight. The statue was holding on to us so we couldn't fall, but still Thalia clutched his arm like it was the most important thing in the world. Everything's fine, I promised. Are we very high? I looked down. Below us a range of snowy mountains zipped by. I stretched out my foot and kicked snow off one of the peaks. Nah, I said. Not that high. We are in the Sierras, Zoe yelled. She and Grover were hanging from the arms of the other statue. I have hunted here before. At this speed, we should be in San Francisco in a few hours. Hey, Frisco, our angel said. Yo, Chuck, we could visit those guys at the Mechanics Monument again. They know how to party. Oh, man, the other angel said. I am so there. You guys have visited San Francisco, I asked. We automatons gotta have some fun once in a while, right? Our statue said. Those mechanics took us over to the DeYoung Museum and introduced us to these marble lady statues, see? And, Hank, the other statue Chuck cut in, they're kids, man. Oh, right. If bronze statues could blush, I swear Hank did. Back to flying. We sped up, so I could tell the angels were excited. The mountains fell away into hills, and then we were zipping along over farmland and towns and highways. Grover played his pipes to pass the time. Zoe got bored and started shooting arrows at random billboards as we flew by. Every time she saw a Target department store, and we passed dozens of them, she would peg the store sign with a few bullseyes at 100 miles an hour. Dahlia kept her eyes closed the whole way. She muttered to herself a lot like she was praying. You did good back there, I told her. Zeus listened. See, that would be you. It was hard to tell what she was thinking with her eyes closed. Maybe, she said, how did you get away from the skeletons in the generator room anyway? You said they cornered you. I told her about the weird mortal girl, Rachel Elizabeth Dare, who seemed to be able to see right through the mist. I thought Thalia was going to call me crazy, but she just nodded. Some mortals are like that, she said. Nobody knows why. Suddenly I flashed on something I'd never considered. My mom was like that. She had seen the Minotaur on Half-Blood Hill and known exactly what it was. She hadn't been surprised at all last year when I told her my friend Tyson was really a Cyclops. Maybe she'd known all along. No wonder she'd been so scared for me as I was growing up. She saw through the mist, but even better than she'd given it a lot of thought. Where you guys want to land? Hank asked, waking me up from a nap. I looked down and said, Whoa! I'd seen San Francisco in pictures before, but never in real life. It was probably the most beautiful city I'd ever seen. Kind of like a smaller, cleaner Manhattan. If Manhattan had been surrounded by green hills and fog. There was a huge bay and ships, islands, and sailboats, and the Golden Gate Bridge sticking up out of the fog. I felt like I should take a picture or something. Greetings from Frisco. Haven't died yet. Wish you were here. There, Zoe suggested. By the Embarcadero building. Good thinking, Chuck said. Me and Hank can blend in with the pigeons. We all looked at him. Kidding, he said. Jeez, can't statues have a sense of humor? Yelling something about metal angels from Mars. We said our goodbyes to the angels, who flew off to party with their statue friends. Then, that's when we realized I had no idea what we were going to do next. The quest. It was supposed to show the trail, but it never had. Now we were stuck on the ferry dock with not much money, no friends, and no luck. After a brief discussion, we agreed that we needed to figure out just what this mystery monster was. But how? I asked. Nereus, Grover said. I looked at him. What? Isn't that what Apollo told you to do? Find Nereus. I nodded. I'd completely forgotten about my last conversation with the sun god. Hi, chicken nugget. The old man of the sea, I remembered. I'm supposed to find him and force him to tell us what he knows, but how do I find him? So he made a face. Old Nereus, huh? You know him? You know him? Thalia asked. My mother was a sea goddess. Yes, I know him. Unfortunately, he is never very hard to find. Just follow the smell. What do you mean? I asked. Come, she said without enthusiasm. I will show thee. I knew I was in trouble when we stopped at the Goodwill drop box. 5 minutes later, Zoe had me outfitted in a ragged flannel shirt and jeans 3 sizes too big, bright red sneakers, and a floppy rainbow hat. Oh yeah, Grover said, trying not to bust out laughing. You look completely inconspicuous now. Zoe nodded with satisfaction. A typical male vagrant. Thanks a lot, I grumbled. Why am I doing this again? I told thee, to blend in. She led the way back down to the waterfront. After a long time spent searching the docks, Zoe finally stopped in her tracks. She pointed down a pier where a bunch of homeless guys were huddled together in blankets, waiting for the soup kitchen to open for lunch. He will be down there somewhere, Zoe said. He never travels very far from the water. He likes to sun himself during the day. How do I know which one is him? Sneak up, she said. Act homeless. You will know him. He will smell different. Great. I didn't want to ask for particulars. And once I find him, grab him, she said, and hold on. He will try anything to get rid of thee. Whatever he does, do not let go. Force him to tell thee about the monster. We've got your back, Thalia said. She picked something, then I headed toward the dock. I pulled my hat down and stumbled like I was about to pass out, which wasn't hard considering how tired I was. I passed our homeless friend from the Embarcadero, who was still trying to warn the other guys about the metal angels from Mars. He didn't smell good, but he didn't smell different. I kept walking. A couple of grimy dudes with plastic grocery bags for hats checked me out as I came close. Beat it, kid, one of them muttered. I moved away. They smelled pretty bad, but just regular old bad, nothing unusual. There was a lady with a bunch of plastic flamingos sticking out of a shopping cart. She glared at me like I was going to steal her birds. At the end of the pier, a guy who looked about 1,000,000 years old was passed out in a patch of sunlight. He wore pajamas and a fuzzy bathrobe that probably used to be white. He was fat with a white beard that had turned yellow, kind of like Santa Claus, if Santa had been rolled out of bed and dragged through a landfill. And his smell? As I got closer, I froze. He smelled bad all right, but ocean bad, like hot seaweed and dead fish and brine. If the ocean had an ugly side, this guy was it. I tried not to gag as I sat down near him like I was tired. Santa opened one eye suspiciously. I could feel him staring at me, but I didn't look. I muttered something about stupid school and stupid parents, figuring that might sound reasonable. Santa Claus went back to sleep. I tensed. I knew this was going to look strange. I didn't know how the other homeless people would react, but I jumped Santa Claus. Ah! He screamed. I meant to grab him, but he seemed to grab me instead. It was as if he'd never been asleep at all. He certainly didn't act like a weak old man. He had a grip like steel. Help me! He screamed as he squeezed me to death. That's a crime! One of the other homeless guys yelled. Kid rolling an old man like that. I rolled all right, straight down the pier until my head slammed into a post. I was dazed for a second, and Nereus' grip slackened. He was making a break for it. Before he could, I regained my senses and tackled him from behind. I don't have any money. He tried to get up and run, but I locked my arms around his chest. His rotten fish smell was awful, but I held on. I don't want money, I said as he fought. I'm a half-blood. I want information. That just made him struggle harder. Heroes, why do you always pick on me? Because you know everything. He growled and tried to shake me off his back. It was like holding onto a roller coaster. He thrashed around, making it impossible for me to keep on my feet. But I gritted my teeth and squeezed tighter. We staggered toward the edge of the pier, and I got an idea. Oh no, I said, not the water. The plan worked. Immediately, Nereus yelled in triumph, and jumped off the edge. Together we plunged into San Francisco Bay. He must have been surprised when I tightened my grip, the ocean filling me with extra strength. But Nereus had a few tricks left too. He changed shape until I was holding a sleek black seal. I've heard people make jokes about trying to hold a greased pig, but I'm telling you, holding onto a seal in the water is harder. Nereus plunged straight down, wriggling and thrashing and spiraling through the dark water. If I hadn't been Poseidon's son, there's no way I could have stayed with him. Nereus spun and expanded, turning into a killer whale, but I grabbed his dorsal fin as he burst out of the water. A whole bunch of tourists went, whoa! I managed to wave at the crowd. Yeah, we do this every day here in San Francisco. Nereus plunged into the water and turned into a slimy eel. I started to tie him into a knot until he realized what was going on and changed back to human form. Why won't you drown? He wailed, pummeling me with his fists. I'm Poseidon's son, I said. Curse that upstart. I was here first. Finally, he collapsed on the edge of the boat dock. Above us was one of those tourist piers lined with shops, like a mall on water. Nereus was heaving and gasping. I was feeling great. I could have gone all day, but I didn't tell him that. I wanted him to feel like he'd put up a good fight. My friends ran down the steps from the pier. You got him, Zoe said. You don't have to sound so amazed, I said. Nereus moaned. Oh, wonderful. An audience for my humiliation. The normal deal, I suppose. You'll let me go if I answer your question. I've got more than one question, I said. Only one question per capture. That's the rule. I looked at my friends. This wasn't good. I needed to find Artemis, and I needed to figure out what the doomsday creature was. I also needed to know if Annabeth was still alive, and how to rescue her. How could I ask all that in one question? A voice inside me was screaming, ask about Annabeth. That's what I cared about most, but then I imagined what Annabeth might say. She would never forgive me if I saved her and didn't save Olympus. Zoe would want me to ask about Artemis, but Chiron had told us the monster was even more important. I sighed. All right, Nereus. Tell me where to find this terrible monster that can bring an end to the gods, the one Artemis was hunting. The old man of the sea smiled, showing off his mossy green teeth. Oh, that's too easy, he said evilly. He's right there. Nereus pointed to the water at my feet. Where? I said. The deal is complete, Nereus gloated. With a pop, he turned into a goldfish and did a backflip into the sea. You tricked me, I yelled. Wait, Thalia's eyes widened. What is that? Mrrr. I looked down, and there was my friend the cow serpent, swimming next to the dock. She nudged my shoe and gave me the sad brown eyes. Ah, Bessie, I said. Ah, Bessie, I said. Not now. Grover gasped. He says his name isn't Bessie. You can understand her? Him? Grover nodded. It's a very old form of animal speech, but he says his name is Ophiuchus. The Ophi what? It means serpent bull in Greek. Thalia said. But what's it doing here? He says Percy is his protector, Grover announced. And he's running from the bad people. He says they are close. I was wondering how you got all of that out of a single moo. Wait, Zoe said, looking at me. You know this cow? I was feeling impatient, but I told them the story. Thalia shook her head in disbelief. And you just forgot to mention this before. Well, yeah. It seems silly now that she said it, but things have been happening so fast. Bessie, the Ophiuchus, seemed like a minor detail. I am a fool, Zoe said suddenly. I know this story. What story? From the War of the Titans, she said. My father told me this tale thousands of years ago. This is the beast we are looking for. Bessie? I looked down at the bull serpent. But he's too cute. He couldn't destroy the world. This is how we were wrong, Zoe said. We've been anticipating a huge, dangerous monster. But the Ophiuchus does not bring down the gods that way. He must be sacrificed. Bessie lowed. I don't think he likes the S word, Grover said. I patted Bessie on the head, trying to calm him down. He let me scratch his ear, but he was trembling. How could anyone hurt him? I said. He's harmless. Zoe nodded. But there is power in killing innocents. Terrible power. The fates ordained a prophecy eons ago when this creature was born. They said that whoever killed the Ophiuchus and sacrificed its entrails to fire would have the power to destroy the gods. Grover said, maybe we could avoid talking about entrails too. Thalia stared at the cow serpent with wonder. The power to destroy the gods? How? I mean, what would happen? No one knows, Zoe said. The first time during the Titan War, the Ophiuchus was in fact slain by a giant ally of the Titans. But thy father Zeus sent an eagle to snatch the entrails away before they could be tossed into the fire. It was a close call. Now, after 3,000 years, the Ophiuchus is reborn. Thalia sat down on the dock. She stretched out her hand. Bessie went right to her. Thalia placed her hand on his head. Bessie shivered. Thalia's expression bothered me. She almost looked hungry. We have to protect him, I told her. If Luke gets hold of him. Luke wouldn't hesitate, Thalia muttered. The power to overthrow Olympus? That's huge. Yes, it is, my dear, said a man's voice in a heavy French accent. And it is a power you shall unleash. Huh? The Ophiotaurus made a whimpering sound and submerged. I looked up. We'd been so busy talking, we'd allowed ourselves to be ambushed. Standing behind us, just going to turn this a little bit because I would like to sit back. Oh, thank God. Standing behind us, his two-color eyes gleaming wickedly, was Dr. Thorne, the Manticore himself. This is just perfect, the Manticore gloated. He was wearing a ratty black trench coat over his Westover Hall uniform, which was torn and stained. His military haircut had grown out spiky and greasy. He hadn't shaved recently, so his face was covered in silver stubble. Basically, he didn't look much better than the guys down at the soup kitchen. Long ago, the gods banished me to Persia, the Manticore said. I was forced to scrounge for food on the edges of the world, hiding in forests, devouring insignificant human farmers for my meals. I never got to fight any great heroes. I was not feared and admired in the old stories. But now that will change. The Titans shall honor me, and I shall feast on the flesh of half-bloods. On either side of him stood two armed security guards, some of the mortal mercenaries I'd seen in D.C. Two more stood on the next boat dock over, just in case we tried to escape that way. There were tourists all around, walking on the waterfront, shopping at the pier above us, but I knew that wouldn't stop the Manticore from acting. Where are the skeletons? I asked the Manticore. He sneered. I do not need those foolish undead. The general thinks I am worthless? He will change his mind when I defeat you myself. I needed time to think. I had to save Bessie. I could dive into the sea, but how could I make a quick getaway with a 500-pound cow serpent? And what about my friends? We beat you once before, I said. Ha! You could barely fight me with a goddess on your side, and alas, that goddess is preoccupied at the moment. There will be no help for you now. Zoe notched an arrow and aimed it straight at the Manticore's head. The guards on either side of us raised their guns. Wait, I said. Zoe, don't. The Manticore smiled. The boy is right, Zoe Nightshade. Put away your bow. It would be a shame to kill you before you witness Dahlia's great victory. You will bring its entrails to the sacred fire on the mountain. You will gain unlimited power. And for your 16th birthday, you will overthrow Olympus. No one spoke. Prophecy said. I wasn't sure if I felt relieved, horrified, or disappointed. I wasn't the prophecy kid after all. Doomsday was happening right now. I waited for Thalia to tell the Manticore off, but she hesitated. She looked completely stunned. You know it is the right choice, the Manticore told her. Your friend Luke recognized it. You shall be reunited. Crush the Olympians underfoot, as they deserve. Call the beast. Dazed and uncertain. It was almost like she didn't know me. I don't. Your father helped you, I said. He sent the metal angels. He turned you into a tree to preserve you. Her hand tightened on the shaft of her spear. I looked at Grover desperately. Wooden planks at their feet sprouted new branches and tangled their legs. Zoe let loose two quick arrows that exploded at their feet in clouds of sulphurous yellow smoke. Fart arrows. The guards started coughing. The Manticore shot spines in our direction, but they ricocheted off my lion's coat. Grover, I said, tell Bessie to dive deep and stay down. Grover translated. I could only hope that Bessie got the message. The cow, Thalia muttered, still in a daze. Come on! I pulled her along as we ran up the stairs to the shopping center on the pier. We dashed around the corner of the nearest store. I heard the Manticore shouting at his minions. Get them! Tourists screamed as the guards shot blindly into the air. We scrambled to the end of the pier. We hid behind a little kiosk filled with souvenir crystals, wind chimes, and dream catchers, and stuff like that. Glittering in the sunlight, there was a water fountain next to us. Down below, a bunch of sea lions were sunning themselves on the rocks. The whole of San Francisco Bay spread out before us, the Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz Island, and the green hills and fog behind that to the north. A picture-perfect moment, except for the fact that we were about to die and the world was going to end. Go over the side, Zoe told me. You can escape in the sea, Percy. Call on thy father for help. Maybe you can save the Ophiuchus. She was right, but I couldn't do it. I won't leave you guys, I said. We fight together. You have to get word to camp, Grover said. At least let them know what's going on. Then I noticed the crystals making rainbows in the sunlight. There was a drinking fountain next to me. Get word to camp, I muttered. Good idea. I uncapped Riptide and slashed off the top of the water fountain. Water burst out of the busted pipe and sprayed all over us. Dahlia gasped as the water hit her. The fog seemed to clear from her eyes. Are you crazy? She asked. But Grover understood. He was already fishing around in his pockets for a coin. He threw a golden drachma into the rainbows created by the mist and yelled, "Oh, goddess, accept my offering." The mist rippled. Camp Half-Blood, I said. And there, shimmering in the mist right next to us, was the last person I wanted to see. Mr. D. Wearing his leopard skin jogging suit and rummaging through the refrigerator. He looked up lazily. Do you mind? Where's Chiron? I shouted. How rude. Mr. D took a swig from a jug of grape juice. Is that how you say hello? Hello, I amended. We're about to die. Where's Chiron? Mr. D considered that. I wanted to scream at him to hurry up, but I knew that wouldn't work. Behind us, footsteps and shouting. The Manicor's troops were closing in. About to die, Mr. D mused. How exciting. I'm afraid Chiron isn't here. Would you like me to take a message? I looked at my friends. We're dead. Dahlia gripped her spear. She looked like her old angry self again. Then we'll die fighting. How noble, Mr. D said, stifling a yawn. So what is the problem exactly? I didn't see that it would make any difference, but I told him about the Ophiuchus. He studied the contents of the fridge. So that's it, I see. You don't even care, I screamed. You just as soon watch us die. Let's see, I think I'm in the mood for pizza tonight. I wanted to slash through the rainbow and disconnect, but I didn't have time. The Manticore screamed, there! And we were surrounded. 2 of the guards stood behind him. The other 2 appeared on the roofs of the pier shops above us. The Manticore threw off his coat and transformed into his true self. His lion claws extended and his spiky tail bristling with poison barbs. Excellent, he said. He glanced at the apparition in the mist and snorted. Alone without any real help. Wonderful. You could ask for help, Mr. D murmured to me, as if this were an amusing thought. You could say please. When wild boars fly, I thought. There was no way I was going to die begging a slob like Mr. D so he could laugh as we all got gunned down. Zoe readied her arrows. Grover lifted his pipes. Dahlia raised her shield, and I noticed a tear running down her cheek. Suddenly it occurred to me. This had happened to her before. She had been cornered on Half-Blood Hill. She'd willingly given her life for her friends. But this time she couldn't save us. How could I let that happen to her? Please, Mr. D, I muttered. Help. Of course nothing happened. The Manticore grinned. Spare those others. And a sound like a huge sigh. The sunlight tinged with purple. I smelled grapes and something more sour. Wine. Snap. It was the sound of many minds breaking at the same time. The sound of madness. One guard put his pistol between his teeth like it was a bone and ran around on all fours. 2 others dropped their guns and started waltzing with each other. The 4th began doing what looked like an Irish clogging dance. It would have been funny if it hadn't been so terrifying. No, screamed the Manticore. I will deal with you myself. His tail bristled. But the planks under his paws erupted into grapevines, which immediately began wrapping around the monster's body, sprouting new leaves and clusters of green baby grapes that ripened in seconds as the Manticore shrieked, until he was engulfed in a huge mass of vines, leaves, and full clusters of purple grapes. Finally, the grapes stopped shivering, and I had a feeling that somewhere inside there, the Manticore was no more. Well, said Dionysus, closing his refrigerator, that was fun. I stared at him, horrified. How did you... Such gratitude, he muttered. The mortals will come out of it. Too much explaining to do if I made their condition permanent. I hate writing reports to father. He stared resentfully at Thalia. I hope you learned your lesson, girl. It isn't easy to resist power, is it? Thalia blushed as if she were ashamed. Mr. D, Grover said in amazement, you saved us. Don't make me regret it, Seda. Now get going, Percy Jackson. I've bought you a few hours at most. The Ophiuchus, I said. Can you get it to camp? Mr. D sniffed. I do not transport livestock. That's your problem. But where do we go? Dionysus looked at Zoe. Oh, I think the huntress knows. We must enter at sunset today, you know, or all is lost. Now goodbye. My pizza is waiting. Mr. D, I said. He raised his eyebrow. You called me by my right name, I said. You called me Percy Jackson. I most certainly did not, Peter Johnson. Now off with you. He waved his hand, and his image disappeared in the mist. All around us, the Manicore's minions were still acting completely nuts. One of them had found our friend, the homeless guy, and they were having a serious conversation about metal angels from Mars. Several other guards were harassing the tourists, making animal noises and trying to steal their shoes. I looked at Zoe. What did he mean? You know where to go. Her face was the color of the fog. She pointed across the bay, past the Golden Gate. In the distance, a single mountain rose up above the cloud layer. The garden of my sisters, she said. I must go home. Yay, and that is the end of that chapter. Well, hi Panda Love, how are you? One more chapter.
One more chapter.
Yep.
Oh. Sword of Truth. Sword of Truth. Almost forgot about that.
$28. 28 pages.
We can go take showers and go to bed.
Yeah. It has been a long day, people.
It really has. And honestly, I have a question. How good of an idea or I had about instead of the teeth being there, the tile?
It was a pretty decent idea. I'm worried about the glue holding.
Why?
Because I don't know how that glue does with water.
True. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I made sure it was completely dry when I put it on.
I wish there was another way to vent that.
He said it's not okay to cut a hole through the
We don't want to cut a hole through the garage door.
No, not the garage door, but the wall.
Oh, no. We're getting a hole saw for that. Oh, sweet, Wolf and Raven.
And there's no way to vent it out the door?
I mean, we'd have to keep the door open.
That would be easier than doing all that. We could set something up, like a mesh net over it.
It's not going to work once the kids get here.
No. How long until we're thinking about getting the saw?
If I order it once we're done with this, Friday or Saturday?
Be here?
Yeah.
Then we can do it before the kids get here.
I know. I'm saying the door thing won't work once the kids get here. We're going to have to cut a hole through the wall.
Yeah. So for a couple of days, we can put it out the door. And then when we are able to, what we'll probably do is put it, honestly, I think in like this side right here.
Honestly, for right now, I'd say let's just leave it off. Like, go ahead and unplug it. And what I'll start doing is I'll start leaving the door open in the afternoon until we get the saw.
Well, I've already started leaving my window open, and you can keep the heater off.
Okay. I think it might be time to unplug those and put them away.
Yeah. Well, yours is already unplugged and put up there. I'm gonna give it. In that case, I'll give it one more day, just because I don't feel like fucking with it right now.
I feel that, Wolf and Raven.
And then I'll take care of it tomorrow, okay?
Well, I've got one more chapter to do, guys. And hopefully I can get it done fairly quickly. Or before I fall asleep during story time. I mean, that's the plan anyways. Okay. So, Chapter 40. Galen climbed atop a wagon before the assembled men. They stood in brown wool coats, packed tightly together before her in the gray morning light. Captain Ryan, with his 2 lieutenants flanking him, stood at the front of the men. He leaned an arm on the wagon wheel, waiting. Kaylin looked out at all the young faces. Boys. She was about to ask boys to die. But what choice did she have? Dear mother, she wondered, if this is this the reason you chose Wyborn as my father? To teach me what I am about to do? I'm afraid I only have one bit of good news for you, she began in a quiet voice that carried through the cold air, out over the faces all watching her. And so I will give you that first, to give you courage for the other things I have to tell you. Kaelin took a deep breath. Your queen was not killed in Ebonicia, nor did the men who attacked the city find or capture her either. Either she was away when the attack came, or she escaped. Queen Cirilla lives. The boys seemed to take a deep breath, as if hoping she wouldn't add anything more, and then they erupted in wild cheering. They threw their arms in the air, shaking their fists at the sky. They yelled and hooted with joy and relief. Kaelin stood in her blood-soaked wolf mantle, her hands at the sides, letting them have their time of celebration and hope. Some of the boys, forgetting for the moment that they were soldiers, hugged each other. She watched tears of happiness run down many a cheek as men leapt and shouted. Kaelin stood feeling small and insignificant as the mob of boys poured out their adoration for her half-sister. She couldn't bring herself to halt their rejoicing. At last Captain Ryan climbed up on the wagon next to her. He held his arms up, calling for silence. All right, hold it down. Stop acting like a bunch of children in front of the Mother Confessor. Show her what men we be. The cheering finally died out, to be replaced by grins and bright eyes. Captain Ryan clasped his hands together and cast her a somewhat sheepish look before taking a couple of steps away atop the wagon to give her room. The people of Ebonicia, she went on, in the same quiet tone, were not so fortunate. The winter silence became brittle. Light breezes rustled icy branches on the trees, ascending the slopes to either side of the flat valley pass, holding their camp. The grins withered. Every one of you, at the least, had friends who were murdered there. Many of you had loved ones, family, who died at the hands of the men a few hours up this pass. Kaelin cleared her throat and swallowed as her eyes found the ground. I, too, knew people who died there. Her eyes came up. Last night I went to their camp to discover who they were, and if they could be called upon to return to their homelands. They have no intention of doing anything but conquering all the lands and putting them under their rule. They have vowed to kill everyone who refuses to join them. Ebonicia refused. The boys shouted and shook their fists. They themselves, they said, would bring an end to their threat. She spoke over their words, bringing them to silence as she did so. The men who slaughtered your countrymen and countrywomen are called the Imperial Order. They fight on behalf of no country or land. They fight to conquer all lands and to rule all lands. They answer to no government, to no king, to no lord, to no council. They believe themselves to be the fountain of law. They are made up of mostly Daharan men, but others have joined them. I saw among them Keltons. Waves of angry whispers swept back through the crowd. Kaelin let it go on for a moment. I also saw among them men from other lands, and I saw Galileans. Hi, Bambi. Sorry, I'm not responding to comments during story time. This time, shocked and angry voices called out that it wasn't true and said she was wrong. I saw them with my own eyes. They fell once more to silence. She quieted her tone. I wish that it were not true, but I saw them. Men of many lands have joined with them. More men will join with them if they believe they can be part of the victory, part of the new law, if they believe they can be in on the plunder and awarded positions of authority and power. The city of Celion lies hardly more than a hand of days ahead. The Imperial Order will have their surrender and allegiance or their death. Other cities, towns, villages, and farms will suffer these men if they are not stopped. Eventually all will come under their sword. I am going to Aidendrill to marshal the forces of the Midlands against the Imperial Order, but that will take time. In that time, their numbers will swell with those who would think to be on the side of might. Right now, there is no one able to stop these men from killing everyone in their path who resists them. Except you. Kaelin stiffened her back as she let what she had said sink in, and in preparation for what she was going to tell them next. She let the silence settle once more over the valley. As the Mother Confessor of the Midlands, and absent the luxury of conferring with the Central Council, I have had to do that which no Mother Confessor for 1,000 years or more has had to do. On my authority alone, I have committed the Midlands to war. The army of the Imperial Order is to be killed to a man. No negotiation or compromise will be afforded by the Midlands. Under no circumstances will the Order's surrender be accepted. I have given an oath on behalf of the Midlands that no quarter shall be granted. Astonished faces stared at her. Whether I live or die, this decree is irrevocable. Any land or people who willingly join with the Imperial Order cast their lot under the shadow of this edict. It is not in the name of Gallia that I call upon you to fight. In the office of the Mother Confessor, I call upon you to fight for the Midlands. For it is not Gallia that is under threat, but all lands and all free people. There was confident grumbling that they were up to the task. Some in the ranks called out their assurance that they were the men to do it, that they were in the right and would triumph. Kaelin nodded to them all. You think so? I want each of you to look to the faces around you. They mostly stared at her. Do as I say. Look to all the faces around you. Look to your comrades. A little confused, they began looking around, twisting to see those to the sides and those behind, smiling and laughing among themselves, as if it were a game. When they seemed to have finished with the task, she went on. A few of you will remember the faces you have looked upon today. Remember and grieve. The rest, if you take up this battle, will not be around to remember. They will die in the struggle. In the cold silence, Kaelin heard the distant chatter of a squirrel, and then the sound of that, too, died away. The smiles were all gone as she finally spoke again. These men, the Imperial Order, are led by and are mostly Daharan troops. Daharan soldiers are trained from the time that they are half your age. They fight internal conflicts in their land, put down riots and rebellions. They do not simply practice battle tactics, they live them day in and day out. They know only a life of fighting. They have been exposed to it in every form. I have taken the confessions of many Daharans. Most do not know the meaning of peace. Since spring, when Darkenwall sent them against the Midlands, they have been at what they do best, war. They have fought in battle after battle. All who have come before them have fallen. They relish fighting. They delight in it. They are as close to fearless as men come. They hold contests, often lethal, to win the right to be in the van of the battle. To win the right to be the first to strike a blow at the enemy. To win the right to be the first to fall. She surveyed the young faces. You have confidence in your training, your battle tactics? The faces nodded, looking to one another, smiling their knowing confidence. Kaelin pointed to one, a sergeant by the look of his coat braids. Tell me then, you are now in the field of battle, having chased down these men, and here comes the enemy, back at you. You are in charge of the pikes and archers. Here they come, thousands of them, yelling, running, coming to rend your force in two, to break your army's back. You see that they have heavy spears, called by them argons, with long, thin barbs. If they pierce you, they are nearly impossible to remove. They cause ghastly wounds that are almost always fatal. Here they come with their argons. Thousands of men. What is your tactic? The young man held his chin out knowingly. Form a tight rank of the pikes, formed into a box or wedge to protect the archers. The pikemen face the pikes out and overlapping the shields. Present the enemy with a tight, impenetrable wall. The shields protect the pikemen, who protect the archers. The archers take them down before they can get close enough to use their argons. The few who do fall on the pikes, their drive is repelled, and in all likelihood, they have lost a good many men in the failed attempt, making another less likely. Kaelin nodded as if impressed. Well stated, he beamed. The men around him grinned with pride in their knowledge of their business. I have seen some of the most experienced armies of the Midlands use those very same tactics when the Daharans first came over last spring, when the boundary went down. Well, there you have it, the man said. They lose their charge against the archers and on the point of our pikes. She gave him a small smile. The Daharan van, those men I told you about, The biggest, the fiercest, the ones who won the right to be the first at you? Well, they've developed special tactics of their own for use against your plans. First of all, they have arrow shields, so as they run in, they're protected from the brunt of the archer's work. And as I guess I forgot to tell you, one other thing about those argons of theirs. These spears have iron-sheathed shafts for most of their length, and a unique purpose. As the enemy is charging in, most unaffected by your archers, they heave their argons at you. We have shields, the man pointed out. Their argons expended, they will be on the point of our pikes. She folded her arms, nodding to him. The van, the men who won the right to be the first wave, are big men. I doubt the smallest has arms less than twice the average of yours. The argons are needle sharp. Thrown by those powerful arms, they penetrate and stick in your shields. The long barbs prevent them from being withdrawn. The confident smiles were fading as she looked from face to face as she went on. You now have argons stuck solidly in your shields. You drop your pikes, drawing swords to hack the heavy spears away, but the shafts are covered in iron and don't yield. The spears are heavy and the butts drag the ground. Daharans can run almost as fast as their spears fly. As they reach you now, they jump on the shafts of the spears stuck in your shields, dragging them to the ground, leaving you on your knees and naked to their heavy axes. Arms still folded, she leaned toward them. I have seen men split from scalp to navel by those axes. Men glanced sideways at one another, their confidence shaken. She nodded mockingly as she unfolded her arms. I am not giving you conjecture. I have seen a Daharan force take down an experienced army nearly 10 times their size in just this fashion. In the space of an hour, the battle turned from a rout of the Daharans to a rout of their foes. A Daharan charge of the Argon is almost as devastating as a classic cavalry charge, except they have far greater numbers than any cavalry, and their own cavalry is anything but typical. You don't even want to know about them. They lost half their number in the slaughter of Abenicia, and they are encamped now, singing and drinking. Would you, if you lost every other one of you, be of good cheer? I know you believe you can win a battle against a force 10 times your size, and I know also that such a thing can be done, but it is those experienced Daharan troops who on a battlefield, fighting by the tactics of common war, could bring about such a feat. Please believe me, I mean no disrespect to your bravery, but in the field of war you are not their equal, not yet. You could not defeat an army half their size were the battle fought the way your enemy would fight. That does not mean you cannot win. It means only that you must do it in another way. I believe you can win, and I'm going to tell you what you must do, and lead you in the first strike, to start you in this. The Imperial Order is not invincible. They can be defeated. From this day forward, I shall never again call you boys. From this day forward, you are men. You think of yourselves as soldiers of your homeland, Gallia, but you are not. In this, you are not. You are soldiers, men of the Midlands. For it is not just Gallia who will be conquered, but all of the Midlands. If these men are not stopped, I call upon you to stop them. The tightly packed crowd of soldiers, tempered by what they had heard, shouted that they would do the job. She watched from under her eyebrows as they confidently pledged to fight to the end. There were angry whispers from some of the crowd to her right. Men were jostling each other and arguing. Some men wanted to speak, and others were seeking to prevent it. If you should choose to join in this battle, you will follow orders without question, she said. But for this time only, you may speak your mind freely, without retribution. If you have something to say, then let all hear it now, or else hold it to your grave. One man pulled his arm free of another. He glowered up at her. We're men. We don't follow women into battle. Galen blinked up at him. You follow Queen Cyrilla. She is our queen. We fight on her behalf. She doesn't lead us in battle. That's left to the men to do. Galen narrowed her eyes. What is your name? He glanced around at his fellows and then held his chin up. I'm William Mosel, and we've been trained by Prince Harold himself. And I, Galen said, was trained by his father, King Wyborn. King Wyborn was my father, too. I am half-sister to Queen Cyrilla and Prince Harold. There were astonished murmurs throughout the crowd. Without taking her eyes from Mosel, she lifted a hand to silence them. But that does not count for command. You are soldiers. Your duty is to follow the orders of your commanders, and they, the Queen. and she must follow commands of the Central Council of the Midlands. The Council of the Midlands follows the orders of the Mother Confessor. For now, I fill that office. My family name is like your queen's, Amnel, but I'm a confessor of blood, first and last. I am the Mother Confessor of the Midlands, and as such, if I say you're to march into a lake, then it is your duty to march until you're breathing water and seeing fishes. Does that make it clear enough for you, soldier? A few other men were shoving at Mosul, urging him to go on with their grievances. It means you can order us. It doesn't mean you know what you're doing. Caitlin let out a sigh and pulled some blood-stiffened hair back, hooking it behind her ear. I don't have the time today to tell you of all the training I've had, or of all the fighting against impossible odds I've been through, or the men I've had to kill in that fighting. I would tell you only that last night I went alone to the camp of the Imperial Order to save your life. The men of the Order, Daharans, fear the things of the night, spirits, and for protection from that and to assist them, they had a wizard in their company. Had you, in your confidence of battle knowledge, tried to attack those men, that wizard would have known what you were doing and probably used magic to kill you all. Mosul's defiant expression didn't diminish, but some of the others broke into worried whispers. Fighting against steel was one thing, fighting against magic quite another. Captain Ryan stepped forward. The Mother Confessor killed the wizard, he said with pride. There were relieved sighs among the men. If it hadn't been for her experience, we would have marched to our deaths without even having the chance to lay steel to steel. I, for one, intend to follow those I've sworn my life to serve. My land, my queen, the Midlands, and the Mother Confessor. We're going to stop this threat against the Midlands, and we're going to do it by following those we are sworn to follow. We go into battle under the command of the Mother Confessor. I'm a soldier in the Galilean army, Mosul seemed only to get more defiant. Not a soldier in any Midlands army. I fight for Gallia, not to protect lands like Kelton. Kalen watched as other men shouted their agreement. This army, the Imperial Order, or whatever they call themselves, is marching toward the border. Stellion is a border city, and most of it's on the other side of the river in Kelton. Most of its citizens are Keltish. Why should we die for Keltons? Men in the crowd were starting to agree with one another. Captain Ryan's face was red. Mosul, you're a disgrace to... Kalen held a hand out to silence him. No, Soldier Mosul is only speaking as he believes, as I asked him to. Your men must understand me. I'm not ordering you to do this. I'm asking you to fight for the lives of innocent people of the Midlands. Tens of thousands of your fellow soldiers have already died in this battle. I would not ask you to lay down your lives for something you do not believe in. If not, then you are free to go, because you will be of no help to your comrades. Her voice turned as cold as thin morning air. If you decide to go with me into this war, then you will follow the orders of your superiors. In the Midlands, there is no one to outrank me. You will follow my orders without question, or your punishment will be unsparing. Too much is at stake to have to suffer men who can't follow orders. If I say you will do something, then you will do it, even if you know it is to cost you your life, because it's to save many more lives. I give no orders without sound reason, but I won't always have time to explain them. Your duty is to trust in your superiors and do as you're told. She held out a finger and swept it slowly over their heads. Children discussed and argued among themselves. Tempers flared and angry oaths were given. Men gathered around Mosul, and others moved away from him. I'm leaving, then, Mosul called out to the others. He thrust his fist in the air. I'll follow no woman into battle, no matter who she is, caught up in a battle you do not believe in. Having made their choice, Mosul and the men with him cast her glares of contempt. He swaggered forward. We'll leave as soon as we can get our things together. We'll not be rushed out on your word. The men backed through the throng, his new men in tow. As they left the gathered soldiers, Kalen carefully counted their numbers. 67. 67 who would leave. She looked out at all the faces. Any more? Do any more wish to leave? No one moved a muscle. Then do all of you wish to join in this fight? A united cheer went up. So be it. I wish I did not have to call upon you men to do this, but there is no one else to ask. My heart weeps for those of you who will die. Know that none of those who live will ever forget the sacrifice you make for them and the people of the Midlands. From the corner of her eye, she watched the 67 men moving among the wagons, taking the supplies they thought they would need. And now to what must be done. Slowly, she shook her head. You men must understand what it is I call upon you to do. It is no glorious battle, as you think, where you move like pieces on a game board. No tactics to outwit an opponent in a grand engagement. We will not face them in the field of battle, but kill them in every other way. But, Mother Confessor, someone near the front timidly called out, it's the code of honor for soldiers to face one another in battle, to best him in a fair fight. There is nothing fair about having to fight in war. The only fair thing would be to live in peace. The purpose of war is singular, to kill. You must all understand this, for it's central to your survival. There is no honor in killing, no matter the method. Dead is dead. Killing your enemy in war is done to protect the lives of those for whom you fight. Their lives are no better protected by killing your enemy sword to sword than by slaying him while he sleeps, but only put at risk by it. There is no glory in this task. It is an onerous deed. We do not intend to give them a chance to engage in pitched battle, to see who is the better at the game. Our chore is simply to kill them. If you have difficulty seeing the right of this, then I call upon you to consider the honor of the soldiers you are up against. Consider them as they stood waiting in gangs to rape your mothers and sisters. Consider what your mothers and sisters in Abenicia thought of honor as they were tortured and raped and slaughtered. The chill of her words sent visible shudders through the stone, silent men. Caitlin had to restrain herself from bringing any more horror to their eyes, but before her still floated the vision of the young women in the palace. If the enemy is looking the other way, so much the better, because they will not thrust a knife into you. If it is from a safe distance with an arrow, so much the better, because they will not have a chance to impale you on an argon. If it is while they have food in their mouths, so much the better, because they will not be able to raise an alarm. If it is while they are sleeping, so much the better, because they will not have a chance to cleave you with their sword. Last night, my horse crushed the head of one of the Daharan commanders. There was no glory in that, no honor, only the knowledge that perhaps that deed will prevent some of you from dying by his hand and wits. In that my heart sings with joy. Joy that maybe it has saved some of your precious lives. What we do is done to save the lives of men and women yet alive and yet unborn. You saw what was done to the people in Abenicia. Remember the faces of those dead. Remember the way they died, and the horror they suffered before they did. Remember those soldiers captured and beheaded. It is up to us to prevent that from happening to any more people. To do that, we must kill these men. There is no glory in the doing, only survival. In the back, 2 men gestured obscenely to those around them and walked off to join with Mosel's men. 69. But the rest stood in firm resolution to take up the fight. The time had come. She had dissuaded them from their raw thoughts of glorious battle, and told them of the true nature of their task. She had brought most to an understanding of the larger temper of the battle ahead. She had told them some of what must be done. She had brought them to a more focused understanding of their importance in the scheme of the struggle. The time had come to charge them irreversibly to the burden, to forge them into an instrument of retribution that could annihilate the threat. Caitlin opened her arms to the men before her, her blood-soaked mantle hanging limp. I am dead, she called to the gray sky. Frowning, they all leaned in a little. What has happened to my countrymen, my countrywomen, my fathers, sons, mothers, and daughters, has slain me. The agony of their slaughter has mortally wounded my heart. Her arms spread wider as her voice rose in wrath. Only vengeance can restore me. Only victory can return my life to me. She gazed into all the wide eyes staring back. I am the Mother Confessor of the Midlands. I am your mothers, your sisters, your daughters yet unborn. I call upon you to die with me and live again only by avenging me. Caitlin swept a hand out. Those of you who join with me in this are dead with me. Our lives can be returned only through vengeance. As long as one of our enemy lives, we are dead. We have no life to lose in this battle, for our lives are already lost, here, today, now. Only when every one of the destroyers of Abenicia is slain may we live once again. Until then, we have no life. She looked out at the solemn faces of the men gathered before her, watching, waiting for her next words. On a warm breeze, the bloody wolf fur rustled against her cheek. Kaelin pulled free her knife and held it up in her fist for all to see. She laid the weapon over her heart. An oath, then, to the good people of Abenicia, who are now with the spirits, and to the good people of the Midlands. Almost all the men followed her example, holding their knives over their hearts. 7 did not, but grumbling curses rose to join with Mosul. 76. Vengeance without mercy before our lives are returned to us, she pledged. The sober voice of every man before her repeated the oath, joining with every other in unflinching unity. Vengeance without mercy before our lives are returned to us. The roar of their words drifted away on the morning air. Kaelin watched William Mosul cast a glance over his shoulder at her before following his men away, back up the pass. She returned her attention to those before her. You are all sworn an oath, then. Tonight, we begin the killing of the men of the Order. Let it be without quarter. We take no prisoners. No cheer went up this time. The men listened in grim attention. We must no longer travel as you have been, with wagons to carry your needs and supplies. We must take only what we can carry. We need to be able to travel the woods, the small passes, so we can outmaneuver the men we hunt. I intend to sweep in at them from all directions and at will, like wolves that hunt, and like wolves who hunt with coordination. We will control and direct them, as wolves control and direct their prey. You are men of this land. You know the woods and mountains around us. You have hunted them since you were children. We will use your knowledge. The enemy is in strange territory and keeps to the wide passes with their wagons in great numbers. We will no longer be impeded as they. We will move through the country around them as do the wolves. You must divide up what you have in the wagons and place what you can carry in your packs. Leave the heavy armor. It takes too much effort to carry. We are not going to fight that way. Take only light armor you can wear at a forced march. Take what food you can. You are to take no liquor or ale. When you have avenged the people of Abenicia, you may drink all you want. Until then, you will not. I want everyone alert at all times. We do not ever relax until our enemy is dead to a man. Some of the food that is left is to be packed into a few of the smaller wagons without any arms or armor. We will need volunteers to give it to the enemy. The men mumbled in surprise and confusion. The road divides ahead. When they are past the fork and on their way to Celion, the wagons with the food and all the ale are to take the other road, and then the smaller routes to get ahead of them. You will lie in wait with these wagons until their advance guard nears, and then cross their pass so they can see you. When their forward column spots you and gives chase, you are to abandon the wagons and escape. Let them have the food and drink. The Imperial Order is nearly out of ale, and tonight they will celebrate their luck. I expect they will get drunk. I want them to be drunk when we attack them. The men cheered with that news. Know this, we are as a wolf pack, trying to bring down a bull. Though we are not strong enough to do it with one dispatching strike, we will harry him to exhaustion, drag him to the ground, and kill him. This will not be a single battle, but a constant nipping at his hide, taking small chunks of him at a time, wounding, weakening, and bleeding him all the while, until finally we have the advantage and can kill the beast. Tonight, under cover of darkness, we will slip into their camp and make a quick strike. This is to be a disciplined action, not random killing. We will have a list of objectives. Our aim is to weaken the bull. I have already partially blinded him by eliminating the wizard. The sentries and lookouts will be taken first. We will dress as many men as we can in their clothes. Those men will go into their camp and locate our targets. Hey, sweetheart, I am on the last story, but if you switch over to YouTube, you can actually rewind it and watch it from the beginning. Our first need is to slow their ability to counterattack. I don't want us run down by cavalry. We need to bring ruin to their horses. There's no need to waste time killing them. Breaking their legs is sufficient. We need to destroy their food. We're an army small enough to be able to get food by hunting, foraging, and buying from surrounding farms and villages. But one that size requires much. If we destroyed their food, they will be weakened. We need to kill their arrow makers and fletchers, bowers, and blacksmiths. All the craftsmen who can make and repair bows, arrows, and other weapons. They will have sacks of goose wings for fletching arrows. They must be stolen or burned. Every arrow not made is one that can't kill us. Bow staves need to be destroyed. Wreck their bulges. Wreck their bugles if you find them, and the buglers. This will help take away their voice and coordination. Their lances, pikes, and argons will be stacked upright, together. 5 seconds and a few swings with an axe or sword will destroy a great many lances and pikes. Heavy axes or hammers will at least bend the argons and render them useless. Every lance or spear broken is one that can't kill you. Burn their tents to expose them to the cold. Burn their wagons so they will lose supplies. Of most importance are their officers. I would rather kill 1 officer tonight than 1,000 men. If we can kill their officers, it will make them dull and slow, and it will be easier to take this bull to the ground. If any of you can think of anything else that will weaken them, bring the ideas to me or Captain Ryan or the other officers. The object tonight is not primarily to kill the soldiers. There are too many. Our object is to disable them, make them weak, slow, to make them less sure of themselves. Most of all, our object is to put fear into their minds. These men aren't used to being afraid. When men are afraid, they make mistakes. Those mistakes allow us to kill them. I intend to terrify them. Later, I will tell you how. You have a few hours to get everything ready, and then we start moving. I want the sentries at double distance. Beyond them, I want lookouts, and I want scouts to keep in contact with the order. I want to know where they are at all times. I want constant reports. I don't want to be surprised by anything. I want to know of anything that you see or encounter, no matter how innocent it seems. If a rabbit jumps too high, I want to know about it. Just as we intend to trick them, I don't want them tricking us. Take nothing for granted. May the good spirits be with you. Now get started. The men all began moving, the air coming to life with the sound of feet and talking. One of the 2 lieutenants stood near, unbuttoning his coat, giving orders to some men around him. Lieutenant Sloane, he looked up as the men he had instructed went to their tasks. See to the sentries and lookouts at once. I want any of your men who know how to make white paint or whitewash to assemble the supplies they need. We will need large tubs of some sort. I want rocks heated to warm the insides of the tent. He didn't question her strange instructions. Yes, Mother Confessor. See that the small wagons with the ale and food are prepared, but hold them until I give the order to let them go. He put his fist to his heart without comment and marched off to see it. Kaylin's legs felt as if they would give out at any second. She was so tired from having had no sleep, and from riding the better part of the night, to say nothing of the work she had done in the heart-pounding fright, that she could hardly focus her eyes anymore. Her shoulder hurt where the lance had been couched when it was shattered. The muscles in her left leg jittered with the effort of keeping her standing. She was also mentally exhausted, anxiety over not only the enormity of her decision to take it upon herself to call all the Midlands into war, but also over her impassioned plea for these men to lay down their lives on her word, eroded her strength further. Despite the unusual warmth of the day, she shivered inside her fur mantle. Captain Ryan stepped over to her. Chandlin, Prindon, and Tossidon were standing by the rear of the wagon watching. Captain Ryan gave her a sly smile. I like it. He jumped down and held his hand out for her. She ignored the hand and jumped down as he had done, and by luck, more than anything, stayed on her feet. She could not accept his offer of help, not now, not with what she was about to do. And now, Captain, I must give you an order you are not going to like. She looked to his blue eyes. I want you to send men after Mosul and those who went with him. Send enough to be sure to accomplish the deed. Deed? They must be killed. Send a force with instructions that they are to pretend to join with Mosul's men, so they don't scatter when your men approach. Send your cavalry behind, but out of sight, in case they are able to take to the woods. When they are surrounded, kill them. There are 76. Count the bodies to make sure that they are all dead. I will be very displeased if even one escapes. His eyes were wide. But, Mother Confessor, I take no pleasure in this, Captain. You have your orders. She turned to the 3 mud people. Prindon, go with the men he picks. Make sure those who departed are killed to a man. Prindon gave her a grim nod. He understood the unpleasant necessity of what she was doing. You get it too, don't you, dear? Do you guys? Captain Ryan tensed in near panic. Mother Confessor, I know those men. They've been with us a long time. You said they were free to go. We can't. She laid a hand on his arm. He suddenly recognized the threat that represented. I am doing what I must to save your lives. You have given your word to follow orders. She leaned a little closer. Do not add yourself to those 76. He at last gave a nod and she removed her hand. His eyes told it all. Hate radiated from him. I didn't know the killing was to start with our own men, he whispered. It does not. It starts with the enemy. Captain Ryan pointed angrily up the pass. They're going in the opposite direction of the order. And did you think they would go to the enemy in plain sight of you? They intend to circle around. She turned and started off toward a tent that had been left up for her. Captain Ryan, trailed by Chandlin, Prindon, and Tossin, followed her, unwilling to concede. If you were so concerned, why did you let them go? Why didn't you let the men kill them when they would have? Because I had to give all those who would renounce us and abandon their fellows the chance to do so. What makes you think all the traitors departed? There could be spies or assassins among us. Yes, there could be, but I have no evidence of that at the moment. If I find there are, I will have to deal with them then. Kalen came to a stop before the tent. If you think I may be making a mistake about those men, I assure you I am not. But even if I were, it is a price that must be paid. If we let them go, and even one of them betrays us, we could all be killed in a trap tonight. If we die, there will be none to stop the order for a long time. How many thousands would die then, Captain? If those men are innocent, I'll have made a terrible mistake, and 76 innocent men will die. If I'm right, I will be saving the lives of untold thousands of innocent people. You have your orders. Carry them out. Captain Ryan shook with rage. I hope you don't expect me to ever forgive you for this. No, I don't. I expect only that you follow my orders. I don't care if you hate me, Captain. I care only that you live to do so. He gritted his teeth in mute frustration. Kalen gripped the tent flap. Captain, I'm so tired I can hardly stand. I need to get a couple of hours' sleep. I want a guard posted around this tent while I rest. He glared at her. And how can you be sure one of them might not be an enemy? They could kill you in your sleep. That's a possibility. But if that happens, one of these 3 men will avenge my murder. Captain Ryan flinched and glanced at the 3 mud people, and in his anger he had forgotten they were there. Chandlin lifted an eyebrow to him. I will first put sticks in his eyes to hold them open, to be sure he sees what I do. Lieutenant Hobson rushed up, holding a bowl out in his hands. Mother Confessor, I brought you some stew. I thought you would like something to eat, something hot. Kalen forced herself to smile at him. Thank you, Lieutenant, but I'm so tired I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to keep it down. Could you keep it warm until after I've rested? Of course, Mother Confessor. Captain Ryan's glare slid to his grinning lieutenant. I have a job for you, Hobson. 2 hours, Kalen said, and then wake me. You should all have enough to keep you busy in the meantime. She pulled the flap aside and went into the tent, nearly collapsing onto the cot. She drew a blanket over her legs and lifted the fur mantle over her head, shutting out the light in her small private darkness. She shook. She would have given her life right then to have Richard hold her for just 5 minutes. And that is the end of chapter 41. Hey, Lumi. What you need? So here's the thing. Tiny little preview of next week. Those men are going to the order. They are planning to betray them. She does the right thing. And Captain Ryan eats his words. I will not lie to you. The next chapter will be bloody and grim. And a lot of people are going to die in various ways. Also, you know that idea she had about breaking the horse's legs? She wasn't kidding. That's going to happen. In a rather ingenious way, actually. No, you haven't heard that idea yet. What are you watching?
I'm not exactly sure, but it looks very good.
I'm so glad you're on YouTube watching something other than my live.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was here to listen to it. I didn't have to.
Okay, but guys, I am hopping off of here because I am done. I need a shower and I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. We did a lot today. Figured out a way to fix the car. That's a good thing.
Oh,
But
not only that, but I also took care of an infection in my tooth, which was great.
are you sure you took care of it?
I have no idea. I guess we'll find out.
Don't worry. I'll look at it when we get inside.
It actually feels a lot better. I can actually take pressure.
Yeah, I'm sure it does now that I said I'll look at it when we get inside. She doesn't like it when I look at things. Anyways, guys, I love you. I hope you have a nice night. Be safe. Do your research. If you can't be good at it. Always do the thing. Message me on TikTok if we're friends. Message me on Instagram if we're not. If you have another place to get a hold of me, well, then get a hold of me in that place. That's not hard. Okay, I love you guys. I hope you have a nice night. And see you all tomorrow. Bye.